We're here at NamesCon 2016 with Monte from RightOfTheDot. Monte, how you doing? And how's the auction going? How's NamesCon? There's a lot of stuff going on.
NamesCon's fantastic. I think there's like 1,200 people here, and the auction did fantastic as well. We had a 70% sell-through rate. Sold $1.5 million worth of names in the live auction.
That's fantastic. What were some of the names that you sold recently?
At the auction, some of the big generic .com names were good, like Tuscany.com, and we sold Lawn.com for $240,000. The new TLDs did fantastic. Web.hosting sold for $50,000. 88.xyz sold for $75,000. The average new TLD sale was at $9,000 or $10,000, which was way above expectations. Yeah. And there were some really good buys in the auction as well. Names like erotica.com, which sold several years ago for $800,000, were picked up for about $115,000 at the auction too.
Wow. You're one of the leading veterans in the industry. A lot of people look up to you. They try to model their careers after you as well. Can you talk about where you came from, where you are now? Tell us a little bit about RightOfTheDot.
Well, I started off in the medical industry, ironically, and that industry actually brought me to the domain industry. So I went to school and took a special program in college to get into the biomedical healthcare industry and sell medical equipment, which I did. And one of my customers had a son that wrote a thesis paper about domain names back in 1994, 1995, and they asked me to read the thesis and just give my thoughts on it. And when I read it, it was like, I get it. It's like real estate, virtual real estate. I'm in. So in 1995, I started buying domain names. I bought a couple thousand of them between 1995 and 1996. And there was no Google, there was no Yahoo, there was no paid advertising, basically. There was companies like Prodigy, and AOL was sending discs, started just sending out discs, and in people's mailboxes, and Netscape was the browser, and it was very rudimentary internet usage at the time. So as a pure internet play, real estate play, I sold my first domain name in 1996, and then created what was probably the first listing site for domain names, and then started brokering domain names for other people back in the late 90s, and then founded Moniker and became president of Snap Names, and now RightOfTheDot, we're consulting with new and existing registries and helping them with a premium domain strategy, both selling and putting names in the right hands of users, so that some of the new TLDs are being used by corporations, and that will help with faster adoption for the public.
What advice would you give to new domainers looking to enter the industry right now, either with GTLDs or .coms, new numeric domain trends coming from Asia? How would you talk to them?
Well, this came up in our panel just before, but there's still opportunity in keyword.com names if you can afford it. If you have a big budget, and .com is like the 800 number. It's like the premium real estate in New York City or LA. But new TLDs are similar to what's going on in the suburbs, and as people are expanding west. So and there's big markets in that as well. So. There's a lot of new speculation and very good keywords in the new TLDs, and I'm really a believer in it now. I didn't believe it many years ago, but I do believe it now. And now that our company's helping to fortify that with a lot of the registries, it's even going to be more successful. So if you're a new investor looking for keywords that make sense to the left of the dot with the right of the dot meaning, if you're in new extensions, or if you can afford to make a long-term play and can afford to get a keyword.com, I believe that over time that will increase in value as more and more people come on the web as well. There's a market for both, and the whole tidewater of the whole entire industry will continue to rise.
Speaking of these same new domainers in the industry, what type of advice would you give them if they were thinking about attending NamesCon next year?
Don't miss it. There's so many good education panels and discussions, and then the networking is invaluable. A lot of people do business on the web and communicate by Skype and by text and by email, but until you really meet people live face to face and look them in their eyes, and you gain people's trust that way, it's always good to attend a show like this for the first time. I was at the first traffic conference when we were all doing business, remotely through through chat windows and texting and email, and that conference helped bring everybody together and let people meet each other who they were actually doing business with, and relationships have been fortified forever because of that. So with NamesCon, it's 3 or 4 times bigger than that. So I would not miss it. If you're in this industry and you're making a living at it, or you want to, this is the place to be.
I know you're a user of NamePros. What is the most useful part of NamePros to you?
Well, NamePros is another way to go reach customers and to address. When I was with Moniker, I used NamePros a lot more than I have recently. Not for any particular reason, but it was a good place to be able to communicate and hear what issues were and what was going on in some of the chats and discussion, and jump on issues and opportunities faster, because there's a lot of talk back and forth on certain subjects. If somebody's having a major problem with outages or domain theft or something like that, it's a good place to pitch in and try to help out. So I'm a real fan of NamePros and similar forums, because people are talking as if they're talking face to face with people, and really sharing what they honestly feel about subjects and topics.
So the numeric domain trend is very big right now. There's a lot of money coming in from Chinese investors, and I heard at another conference the small business sector in India is coming online, and here in the US over the next few years the Internet of Things is going to become very big. What role do you think GTLDs are going to play in kind of all those markets?
Oh, big roles, because India, for example, is less than 40% penetrated, on the internet. China is 45% penetrated. United States is 78% penetrated on the internet. So markets that still have a good ways to go will have a demand and a desire to have a way to access the web, to use domain names, to build websites, to have an email. Countries that have a big gap between lower class and higher class have taken longer traditionally to be on the web, because the lower class hasn't had access to computers or internet access, or have been able to afford it. And that trend is changing in a lot of those countries, like India and in China. There's now a big middle class, and they are online, and they are starting to do commerce, and they're getting credit cards, and they're getting credit access, and they're being able to buy homes and cars and those types of things. And with that will come more internet usage and online search and domain names. So there's a definite market for existing and new TLDs because of that. And there's very targeted domain names for each of these countries, not only in their country codes, but in some of these new extensions. So you'll see big swings in registrations and usage, whether we believe it in the United States, whether it makes sense to us. There's trends that are happening around the world that are not easily understandable to us, but that will remain and continue.
You've been in the industry since the beginning, and we're still very much in the Wild West portion of it. Where would you like to see it go in the future, and what do you think is missing from it right now?
Well, the domain name industry is still I like to assimilate it to just batting practice before a baseball game or warming up. It's not even started. We haven't even started the game yet, because there's only 300 million domain names registered to 2 billion internet users. That user base is going to double in the next 5 years, and the internet traffic is going to quadruple. So with that will come some more regulation, as well as some more easier use and faster ways to build websites, and better online tools, and better voice recognition in your iPhones and your computers and your cell phones, so it's going to be easier to navigate. So I think that's where it's going, and because we're going to deal with a lot more people that speak foreign languages and stuff, there'll be automatic translations and translators that will help people communicate better, so that what the other person's saying in Chinese and vice versa. I think we'll see automatic text recognition and autofills that translate messages and emails and stuff for that in that industry. So that's where I like to see it go, and I think we'll have some more regulation as a result of so many people being online.
Right. We have only a couple of Fortune 500 companies in the industry right now. Like Google is starting to dabble in it, Amazon's starting to kind of dabble in the domain industry. What other Fortune 500 players would you like to see enter the space to try to grow it?
Well, a lot of corporate brands have gotten their own extension, and
Right.
we'll see that. Like, so, for instance, Nike has gotten .Nike, and Citibank got .City, and Barclays Bank got .Barclay Bank, and you're starting to see those transitions happen. So, instead of going and finding shoes at Nike and having the slash, like Nike.com/shoes or /apparel or /sports, you're going to see sports.nike, direct navigation pages, eliminating extra keys to type in, and easier navigation for others to remember what they are. So I think what we're going to really see is a lot of corporations using their own brands as their domains, and that's when there's going to be a big transition for the general public to use new TLDs, and then all TLDs, both .com and new extensions, are going to become more valuable because of that.
Thank you for stopping by. I really appreciate your time.
All right, great. Thank you.
Thanks.